ducked out for a little afternoon fishing my own for a good reason. A, it's a beautiful day to be out, but also I knew I was going to combine it with a nice tide turn. Now, fish won't feed all day. There's only a few species which tend to eat right on slack water. You tend to find a majority of fish that you chase will respond to the way the tide moves. And for me, a real pick of it is to fish at those quarter times. By that I mean just after the tide turns and starts to gain momentum, and then again just before it backs off. There's a lot of tools out there like tide charts, and there's some great internet options which let you know what the tide's doing in your certain area. Before I go out to water, what I like to do is check it out and work out when those quarter tide points are going to be. So I know that I'm fishing and not travelling when the fish are going to be biting. And then the other thing I like to do is I use my Protec Casio watch just to verify that the tide is doing what I think it's going to be doing, because I've got that watch set out exactly to the lats that I'm going to be fishing at, which means the tide is all coordinated. And the beauty about the Protec watch is that it gives you that tide in those quarters. It tells you high, 3/4, quarter and low points, which means when it's flashing at those quarter stages, I know that I've got to be out there fishing and having fun. Here we go, got a nice bit of colour coming up now. Hopefully I can show you the results of planning a trip well, knowing your fish are there and then sticking something that they'll eat in front of them. Well, that's all the puffing and panting was about. Lovely big Trevor sucked in a little plastic, put it in front of it, and I love it when a plan comes together. Get him back in the water. Nothing better than when getting out on the water and you're straight into fish. And a big it's a snapper. Oh. Aren't they a beautiful fish? A lot of us anglers spend a lot of time chasing the red man with the blue spots. Little snapper, he's just starting to develop the bump. What a wonderful fish. And these guys are very much the type of fish that get geared up around those tide turns. A big part of my snapper sessions involve getting my tides right and making sure I'm fishing around those times. There's a lot of tools at our disposal as anglers these days, but like any tools, if you don't use them right, you don't get the benefits of them. So use your planning tools and your preparation tools to make the most of your time on the water, because in the way we work and live these days, we just don't get enough time to enjoy out on the water, so make the most of it. I've come offshore today to chase a couple of critters in a bit of reef in my local area, and I'm pretty sure that today they're going to be chewing on bait fish that are around about that size. So I've brought with me a selection of soft plastics, and these are the Berkley biodegradable models. And to keep our biodegradable plastics nice and fresh, you want to employ the use of these type of containers. This is one of the Plano Aquaseal containers, and the other beauty of this is that it means I'm not mucking around with lots of bags of soft plastics when I'm out there fishing, because if that soft plastic doesn't produce the goods, it means I'll start changing until something does. Now, the benefit of getting prepared before I go offshore is that I can mix up a couple of what I think are the most likely plastics to use, and to have a tool like the Plano Aquaseal handy means I keep them fresh at my fingertips, and I can chop and change depending on what the conditions throw at me. The other part of the soft plastic equation is my jig head, and so to be on the water and get thrown a range of variables like water depths, currents and stuff like that, it means I'm going to have a selection of jig head weights and hook sizes handy. Now, to have them handy is a very worthwhile thing to be doing before you head out on the water. Now, I tend to like keeping my jig heads in a box that's watertight. So once again, Plano make a fantastic watertight container. I can have a whole range of hook sizes, different jig head weights, and it means that it's very easy for me now to chop and change just to get that presentation right. Big part of catching fish, getting that presentation right. Using a nice little light spin rod and braided line to fish these soft plastics offshore today. And the wonderful thing about this outfit is it's got complete sensitivity, so I can feel everything that's going on down there. What I want to do though is maximise that sensitivity. So when I'm letting the soft plastic down there, I'm feeding it out over my thumb and forefinger. And what that lets me do is know the moment something changes. If I hit the bottom, or for some reason that line speeds up or slows down, it tends to indicate that something's picked it up on its way down, and that's a sign for me to engage the reel and start being prepared to do battle if it comes to that. Hopefully it will fairly soon. It's an intriguing way to fish. It's visual, and it's a sensitive way of going about the whole fishing with soft plastics affair. It's very engaging. I love doing this stuff. Good little tip when you're dropping that soft plastic down there. Nothing's grabbed it and you think you work out you're about halfway down. I like to just engage, give it a bit of a flutter in the water before you stop dropping it down again. It tends to bring predators to the table a little bit quicker. They sense something's wounded and in the water, I tend to find they come along and chomp it up. Here we go. Hasn't woken up yet. He's about to be. What do we got here? The beauty about fishing offshore, never know what's going to come up next. It's one of the intriguing aspects of doing this stuff. And good indication that so many fish feed around that tide turn. But you've really got to get that part of the equation right. So many anglers leave good patches of fish that they can see on the sound and they know that are there, and they leave them because they think it's just not happening. And they're probably right, it's not happening, but it will happen in about 1 to 2 hours time. It's about understanding what those fish are doing. They're not feeding actively because it's not the right part of the tide. If you understand that, it means that you don't tend to leave patches of fish when they're not necessarily feeding. Beautiful. Another little surprise if you're getting your tides right around those turns in the deeper water. There's occasionally very special fish, the Jew. Look at him, lovely fish. Oh. They don't come around all that often, these guys, but when they do, they're welcome my boat anytime. They're a special fish. I love catching these things. And they, for me, are very much a reward. Planning well, having your gear ready, and putting it down at the right time. Beautiful fish. Oh.
It's Bill Klassen here from The Fishing Show, and if you like this instructional video and want to learn more, it's simple. Go to fishingshowtv.com.au and see a whole host of additional videos.